Hello, everyone, and welcome to our very first episode of the podcast Beards and Games. I'm Ko, aka Danny, joined by Brex, aka Rob. And
How's it going?
since this is our first episode and we try to figure things out as along as we go, um, why not just start off by introducing yourself, Rob? Because we have worked together, we know each other for quite some time now, but nobody else might know you, so hit it off. Who are you?
Uh, well, you know my name already. I'm
Obviously.
from Slovenia. I'm actually a filmmaker and photographer, freelance. I do videos for clients, I don't know, like commercials or tutorial videos and such. Maybe some photography along the way, like product photography and stuff like that. I met Ko when I actually started playing World of Warcraft again after a long, long, long time. It was a long pause, and he was my guild leader. So we kind of clicked, and we went on from there. I actually streamed a little bit after that, and he was my my mod back then. I think you still have the option to be my mod if I started up again.
I think so as
I
well.
think
I
you're
think you never
I
changed
think you're
it.
still in. Yeah, I doubt I changed anything there. So yeah. And that's basically like a short introduction for me. You're gonna, know a lot more about me down the line, basically.
Okay, so since you did it, I kind of have to do it as well. I'm from Germany. I am not anything you are. I'm just basically a gamer by heart. I do stuff that is pretty much not relevant to whatever we are doing here. I work in the plastic industry. I stuff with plastic, forming it, molding it, producing different products. That's what I learned. That's what I like to do. And yeah, we met in World of Warcraft in Shadowlands. I think you said you
Yeah.
started like after break in process. I might not remember it correctly, but doesn't really
Ooh.
matter. And
I
yeah,
think that was back in Legion,
late
a
Legion.
little before Legion, I think.
Okay.
That I stopped, something like that. My old guild broke up, so I needed a new one.
All I knew back then was you liked PvP, but actually never played PvP. At least not with us. That was.
Yeah, not I did, but not with you. Yeah, that's accurate.
And other than that, yeah, I've been following you around ever since. I mean, like you said, I've been in your Twitch stream. I did help you with. You actually started streaming with World of Warcraft, and then you went on with
Yes.
a bit of other
Yeah, a
games as
little a
well.
little later. Yeah. True.
So, uh,
I actually I started with The Witcher. The Witcher was the first game, then it was World of Warcraft.
I think you did. I'm actually somewhat. At least
No,
you were in the mood for Witcher sometimes, and then for World of Warcraft, especially when we did dungeons together.
yeah, I mean, I'm very, you know, I like a lot of games, and it's
Yeah.
uh, it's kind of hard to stick to one all the time. And it's just I love The Witcher. I love the story. I love the books, everything about it. It's just amazing. Except the show, I have a lot of things to say about the show, but I think
Yeah,
everybody does.
the show did had its controversies. I agree.
Yeah,
I think it
loads
was
of them.
good, but yeah, it did have a lot of flaws in it. But anyways, we got who we are covered. We got our game history at least a little bit covered. So we got one name of the podcast done. The other part is beards. I mean, you have one,
Beards,
I have one.
beards.
But you have something else going on with beards, so tell the world about it.
Yeah, I'm actually a brand Viking. That's basically the name of it. A brand Viking for the beard struggle. Maybe some of you guys already know it. It's a company that makes beard products. You know, it's a given, but yeah, it's like beard washes, beard conditioners. Like brushes, everything basically. So yeah, I'm I'm in the program, promoting the thing, and that's there's not much more than that to say about it, basically. And the other parts are, hush hush. It's for the inner circle. I can talk
Ah,
about a
okay,
lot of
okay.
stuff. Yeah, I can talk
I
about a lot of stuff. Yeah, so yeah, that's basically it. I'm a brand Viking. Let's say that.
okay. Did I actually ever tell you that I already have a product of the beard struggle, but I rarely use it?
Really.
I have the heated beard brush because when I first started out growing the beard, one complaint I always got from people was it looks tiny. You keep it clean, but your beard starts to curl as soon as it gets
It
longer.
goes, yeah.
The
Yeah.
problem I had was it always went back to the neck, and every time I tried to straighten it out, it didn't work. So I thought, okay, maybe the beard brush could help with that, and it did not help. Absolutely not. And I never
The
figured out
beard
how to solve
brush,
it.
but the beard brush is actually for longer beards.
Okay, well, I want to grow.
Ah.
I want to grow. I want to grow. But yeah, problem is that part it grows, but the neck beard part grows even more. So I have to keep that in mind unless I want to look like a sweaty ass gamer, which I do not want. I mean, you probably heard
Yeah.
it. You're such a neck beard. Yeah, I don't want to look like that.
I mean, I have a similar situation. Although mine is a little bit more weird, because on the left and the right side, on the lower part of the beard, like almost to the neck, is on my right side. Basically, it's yeah, on my right side, it grows longer than on
What?
the left.
How?
So
How?
I don't know. I don't know. So I always have to trim. So it's kind of yeah. That's how it should look. Otherwise, I'm like all weird on
Okay,
my
that's.
side. So yeah,
Yeah,
like a kraken, or something.
I could imagine myself seeing you like that, and it would look amazing.
That don't even oh god, don't even imagine it. That's a topic for another time. you know.
Oh
But yeah,
no.
the beard brush would be really good for me, for example, because every time I wake up in the morning, it's like I look like a bushman or something. I don't know.
I
Or
when we started talking about doing this kind of thing, um,
yeah,
we talked a little bit earlier about the beard struggle thing, and you, for
yeah,
example, showed me that beard growth package, and
yeah. Voxter, yeah, Voxter, yeah.
and I had a really funny idea yesterday. Just imagine if I would uh, get that thing from you to help you out. I get the package obviously because I definitely need it,
Mhm.
and just do it like I'm gonna shave everything off and then just try it for 1 month. Like, but I would look like a baby for like an entire month, and it would be horrible. I'm really skinny, and as soon as I shave the beard off, I'm always getting asked for my ID when I buy beer. It's horrible. I don't like that. I'm 26. I mean, I no. Yeah, come on, just really, just no. It is.
I got the same thing from people. Yeah, when I went to the store before I started growing, I only had like a little goatee going on before that. I don't know if you remember that. And actually, it was the streaming days. I
Yeah,
really kept it.
yeah, no.
I really kept it tight. It wasn't as long. It was really short. It was like um, weird. Let's say that. So yeah, I always had to check. I mean, given my ID and stuff like that, it was like, dude, I'm like 28. So,
It is.
don't ask me that. As the kid that you just sold alcohol to. Ask him for the ID.
Yeah, but it is always weird. But uh, yeah, I guess I could live with that for like a month just to see if that package actually really works on me. I mean, it's dependent, I guess. You said
Uh,
a lot of people had good results with it. Um,
yeah,
but I guess that comes down to like the person itself. Since
true,
my
true.
best friend has a cousin, and he is like a he has a really big beard, but he has some spots that don't really grow, and he bought the package
Patches, yeah.
and
Yeah.
tried it, and he said it did not work for him at all. But I guess that's the
Uh, uh,
exception in that kind of
what you
case.
mean, Voxter?
Yeah, he bought
Didn't.
Voxter actually, and I still think it works. I haven't tried it. I will. I still believe in it, but he tried it and he said it didn't really work for him.
Uh,
For whatever reason, I don't really know. But I guess that's just a really rare exception to it. Otherwise, I guess the suggestions and recommendations from that speak for themselves.
I mean, funny story about Voxter. When I started being a brand Viking, they let me into the group, right, into the Discord because they have a Discord for it, and you can also be in the Facebook group after if you join. Um, there was one guy. I was like, this Voxter thing is bothering the hell out of me. I gotta try this thing. This is just this. You know what I'm going to do? I'm gonna shave my head. I'm gonna use Voxter on my head. Let's see. I was like,
Okay.
what the hell are you kidding? No, 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 I'm serious. And we were all laughing like madmen. I was like, no way he's gonna do that. And like the next day he sends in a picture, no hair,
Oh boy.
with Voxter on and just, the roller that you get with the package, right? And he was rolling that thing like on his head like every day. And he's a little bit balder on the front side, just like me, right? And he was, doing the thing every day, and he's bald in the back as well, and doing the thing every day, and sending in videos, photos, whatever it is. And after like 3 months or something like that, he shows a picture like before and after, before he got Voxter, before he totally shaved his head, and after he got it. And actually, in some patches and some parts, it actually grew. That blew my mind. It was like on your head. It's like that. Isn't that for a beard or whatever it is? I was like, yeah, I tried it, and it obviously works. So for all of you guys that are extreme geeks out there, don't use Voxter on your feet to become a hobbit or whatever. You know,
Good lord.
use it for your beard if you want to grow a beard. To become a real gamer. You
or
gotta,
or your
yeah.
head if you are really bored or you
or
want to
your or
prove
your
something.
head, so you don't have a cannonball head like me. So you know,
Okay, so whatever comes up, I guess with all the beard stuff, you're the man to go to, and I guess we already like picked our sides there. You take care of all the beard stuff, and I do take care of all the gaming stuff because
sure.
because of your job, you do have less time to play, and I don't have any kids or
Yeah.
wife. I just have a job, and I can play as much as I like to. And speaking about games, and since
Yeah.
we both enjoy the fantasy of Vikings and all there is to
Yeah.
it, let it be music or art or just games that are focused on Vikings in general,
Hmm.
the first thing we wanted to talk about was how would you see the perfect Viking within a video game? And it doesn't really matter what genre you best fitting for it. Could be strategy. Shooter doesn't really work, I guess, because what would you shoot as a Viking? But I could see
Yeah.
that work as well, I guess. But yeah, whatever
I,
genre you see fit, how would you describe a Viking and perhaps the gameplay to it as well?
I mean, considering that question, I think there is one game that came very, very close. Of course, there's a mythological part to it still, but Valheim was in a lot of the parts of the game was basically spot on.
Okay.
And I'm not even kidding. I would definitely, in every game that there is a depiction of a Viking, definitely lose the horn helmets because there is no historical evidence at all that Vikings had helmets. That actually came from, I think it was Wagner that was doing a play of the Nibelungs. I don't know how you say it in German. I think it's like der Ring des Nibelungen or something.
Oh, der Ring der Nibelungen. Ja, 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 ja.
Yeah. So he had a guy that was a costume designer, which I think it was Emil something. I don't know what his name was. In the 1800s, I think it was the late 1800s, they did a costume to make Vikings appear more, horrific or whatever it is, because they were doing the Nibelung thing, and they came up with the horned helmets, and that caught like fire, and if you see all of the depictions of the Vikings and games, I mean, most of them, they were with horned helmets. Actually, if you see the How to Train Your Dragon, the
Mhm.
the the cartoon as well, horned helmets, and I actually get really really pissed off if I'm doing a design or whatever it is that's like Norse design. For example, if I'm looking for graphics for that and type in Viking helmet, it's always the horned helmet. It's like, no, that's not the helmet. That's not even close to being true. It kind of pisses me off. So that the helmet would be one thing that should definitely change. In that the mindset, I mean, the whole gameplay, the story of it behind it. Um, for example, in Valheim is amazing. It's basically um, the Raven drops you down in the afterlife in a way, right?
Okay.
And then you have to start over again, and then battle the beings that are there, to help out in the afterlife. That's basically the story, right? And if you walk around the islands wherever you are, the map that you have, if you look up, you will see a massive, massive tree, right? And
Oh, the
that is
World Tree.
the world tree. That's Yggdrasil, for example. So that part is really, really close to. Of course, they put in stuff that are not even in the lore or whatever it is. So it is appealing a little bit, but the whole thing, the look of the long ship, the look of the possible buildings that you do, I don't know, just the basic stuff, how the axe looks, it's pretty spot on there, if you ask me. For example, Assassin's Creed Valhalla is an amazing game. It's great. It's basically perfect, but in a way, if you look at the armor, the basic armor that you see in the trailer, that's not what they wore. You
Oh,
know,
okay.
it's different. It's totally different. I mean, it's cool that they want to tell the story in England and stuff like that. It kind of intertwined with Norse mythology and stuff. I love that. It's amazing. So basically, they need to put in the work to look how the swords looked, the real swords, how the axes looked, the real axes, how the clothes were back then. And definitely the helmets. Fix the goddamn helmets, please, because that pisses me off when I see that. And when I see horned helmets, like, oh nope, delete. That's it. I don't play it because that pisses me off. That really pisses me off. So there are not a lot of um, sources for what exactly they were thinking back then, if the stories are true, the ones that we know, right, and stuff like that, because the Vikings were not, I mean, Vikings, the Norse back then were not specifically writing down what was happening, like chronicles and stuff. Basically, the Christians were doing that in England, the monks and stuff, they were writing down stuff. The Vikings were more telling stories from one generation to the other. So basically, everything that we see in the show, like Vikings, for example, right, Ragnar and stuff like that, there is um, a character named like that in the sagas. There is, but the thing is, that story, the Ragnar story, happened a lot earlier than the sagas were actually written. I think the sagas were written a couple of 100 years after, um, a written account of it. And there are some stuff along the way that they basically are not sure if it really happened, but they know a lot of stuff as well, and a lot of it is actually as well as Christianity propaganda in a way. So they want to portray them as, I don't know, like bloodthirsty animals or whatever it is, but they were basically traders and stuff like that. So whatever we are putting into the game, let's try and be as authentic as possible. Don't put the magic helmets on. Don't give them like uh, unreasonable armor and stuff like that. Just go with the basics. Look at what there is like proven and in history, what they actually um, dug up and know for sure, or from the writings that I think there's one that's a complete account of it, but I'm not entirely 100% about that. But yeah, clothing, mythology, the thinking of the Vikings, that should be portrayed in there. They're not all bloodthirsty animals. A lot of them were traders, or farmers and stuff like that. They were not all like raiders and killing people all over Europe or whatever it is. They were first-hand explorers as well. So, share that a little bit. So Valheim was amazing because when you were, for example, on the water, there were sea serpents, there are trolls, there's different things that are happening along the story that you progress. Uh, the crow, I mean the crow, sorry, the raven comes down and tells you, what you need to do and stuff like that. And that's basically one of the ravens from Odin. So Odin is basically sending him down to you. It's like, you need to do this. Now you can do this. Now you can do that. And you go around the countryside in the game or the map or whatever, right? And you see like old stones and carvings in them. And then you click on it and you start reading. And a lot of it is basically like from old lore and old writings, which is kind of cool. So Valheim would be the number one pick, and for me, as a Viking interpretation thing, like it's the closest that it comes to. Actually, even the helmets are correct. There's no you know
The horns are
no
added.
pointy things. Yeah, no pointy things on the head. So yeah, there's also the Draugr, which are basically like
That?
uh,
Undead.
yeah, the undead. Yeah, Draugr. Yeah, it's basically like undead warriors, like. Let's say zombies in a way, and there's a lot of these creatures that are actually part of Norse lore or mythology, which is kind of cool, which entwined into the game. It's really nice. I like it. I really like it.
So
So
the aesthetic and the style of Valheim comes really close to Viking
yes,
stuff in. Okay, so
yes,
since Valheim is a survival game, and you do
yeah,
have accommodate to the survival elements of it, obviously building your base, resources,
of
all of that.
course,
The personal gameplay for your actual Viking character would come short. I'm not saying it can in those games, but there is a certain aspect of like imagining what a Viking could play like, especially since most of the
yeah,
time a Viking is portrayed in games in an RPG style. So you can
mm-hmm.
build your character in a certain way, and sometimes you have an sometimes you have an opinion as to how a Viking should play it like, or at least what options or she should have in that matter. Do you think Valheim would fulfill that fantasy as well as to actually having the gameplay feeling like you are a Viking?
Yeah, it could because, for example, I'm still part of the Big Bother Squad, which is like basically like a gamer group, right? They have their own Discord and stuff like that, and we actually had our own server. And people that were playing on that server, of course, everybody had their own house and stuff like that, but they had roles, for example, right? So
Right.
that's like role-playing element in there. So one was a fisher, one was a blacksmith, for example, right? One there was a group that was raiding around, and and there were hunters and stuff like that. So you can do that. But the one thing is with Valheim, for example, I didn't progress the story as much because I'm a builder, right? And that's the way I played it. I progressed the story as much as I needed to. For example, I think I got to the second or third boss where you get like metal and stuff like that, so you can like get metal pickaxes and stuff like you can upgrade and stuff, steel, whatever it is. So I could build better houses, more stuff and stuff like that, or maybe do uh, um, a rock fence, whatever it was, right? So I progressed as much as I needed to. So I didn't need to go more than that, in my opinion, back then. So I didn't go past the third boss. I think it was the third boss. So I didn't go past the third one because I didn't need to. I loved the role play of being a builder. I loved putting up new settlements that I was finding around the map, right? So I was just doing that basically. And Nick Cage, right, our
Yeah,
friend, right? He
obviously.
he was he was a little bit more than that. He also liked to build, but he wanted to progress the storyline to see what's after that. Get the better stuff just to have it, whatever, right?
Yep.
And I was actually on his server a lot of times building buildings for him, whatever it was. It was like I think I built like a massive house for one of his players. That took me like 4 hours and a half, I think, like a morning stream. It was for me. It was a morning stream for him. It was like late night or something because he's in America,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
So yeah, it was like 4 hours and a half in his stream building. Um, so that was actually my go-to every time. Every time I was on a server with somebody, I was building. I
Okay.
didn't want to go anywhere else. So yeah, the role play element is a big part of it if you want to. But it depends a lot on the player as well. I mean, there is an option to do it. I did it, in my own kind of way. So I think that is a good option that you can take.
Okay, so basically, Valheim gave you all the necessities to be a Viking, and what you did with those things in the end was completely up to you, and you had your own
Yeah.
creative freedom to just
Yes.
get your mindset into, okay, I'm a Viking on this server in this world now, and this is what I do. Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Basically, my Viking was a builder. That's it.
Okay, well, I haven't really been into all those survival games simply because, and that is probably the funniest excuse you will ever hear when it comes to survival games. I have trouble surviving in the real world. Why should I bother surviving in a game?
That's a good combination.
That's why I
Yeah.
avoid survival games. I do try the popular ones. I mean, I have played, for example, Conan Exiles as well because
Yeah.
my name originates from Conan. Funny enough, it comes from the Age of Conan when I tried it out, and I was like, yeah, Dad, you like Conan as well. My dad is a big 80s action star
Oh.
movie enthusiast. So all the movies with Sylvester Stallone, Schwarzenegger, he loves those, and he obviously liked Conan as well. And I just
Yeah.
did a variant of the name for my own, and that's how I got my gamer name essentially. Um, so I did try that just to see how it is, and obviously I uh, did spend a lot of time with you when you played Valheim, so I got around to see the game a lot and not having to play it, which was good and bad, I guess, in the end, because it does look good, but I can't get around the Bible thing.
It's
So
yeah, it's a special kind of branch of the gaming industry.
yeah,
Yeah.
it definitely is. I mean, I tried all the other ones as well, like Subnautica, but I have such a huge phobia against underwater things. I scream like a little girl, hit all the four, and never return to that game. I just can't. As soon as I see something that could kill me underwater, I'm out. I can't. It's
I'm
one
I'm
thing.
I'm I'm the same. I'm the same with that.
I
I'm
can't.
absolutely the same. I was actually thinking about getting Subnautica, but the what's it called? The second part, like
Below
Sub-Zero,
zero.
whatever it is.
Yeah.
Below Zero, yeah, that one. I wanted to get that one, but it was like I played Ark, right, on the Big Brother server, and it did a lot. And again, a builder.
Yeah.
But that was basically my job, like building shit, because I'm good at it. I have like I don't know, some kind of creative mind. It was so weird. For example, like Nicolas Cage, aka Nicolas Cage, our friend, he was coming to me when I was building on Valheim, and my character was standing still. And I remember him on stream saying, "I guess he's AFK." And I was like, 5 seconds later, I said, "No, I'm still here." And like, why are you standing still? I'm thinking. because because I was just standing at one side of the house thinking, okay, if I put this wall up, will it hold here? Will it hold there? How is it gonna look? So I was calculating stuff. So that's how I play in a game like that. It was the same with Ark. It's gonna be the same with any other survival game that I'm gonna be possibly trying, but probably not. But yeah, it's always me sitting there and thinking, how, I'm very. It's the same when I'm doing videos or photography, whatever it is. For example, now that I started EDC for everyday carry photography and stuff like that, when I put an item on the table, I actually go on all angles, like around. I walk around it, and it's just okay. It looks good here, but it doesn't look good there. Okay, what should I do now? It's like I could change it to like right here. Maybe this helps. It's like a creative process. That's why I like Valheim and Ark, like building wise and stuff like that. And I actually played Ark with my boy because he likes dinosaurs.
Yeah, you told me
So
about it. Yeah.
yeah, and he was like, T-Rex. Like, damn, a T-Rex is it's a big deal. It's not something that you should just come there and just say, okay, it's fine. That doesn't happen. You have to run a lot. So that's a little bit different. Did you try what's it called? Rust?
No, I actually did not try Rust because obviously, again, survival game, and then
Yeah,
Rust doesn't have something appealing. At least there is no real setting behind it. At least with all the other games,
yeah,
you have something unique about it. Valheim, the Norse mythology, obviously, Ark, you have
yeah, yeah,
dinosaurs. Subnautica, the whole underwater thing. Conan Exiles has already a pre-made universe to live in, and with the entire Conan books and games and movies. And Rust is just plain. Can be good.
no,
I'm not
no
doubting it.
story. Yeah,
Uh, I'm not really bothered by it having no story. It's just literally humans survive against yourself or
yeah,
against other
yeah.
humans. There's no real universe you've been put in. Just
Yeah.
here you go. That's it.
I mean, funny thing, I was mentioning Rust. I bought Rust, played it for about, I don't know, it was like under 7 days or something. Got a refund because let's say plainly, I fucking hated it. So I got a refund and I bought Sea of Thieves.
Oh,
Yeah,
interesting.
because it was like this or that, So I got Rust. It's like, pirates,
Better.
not my kind of thing. Not my kind of thing, I like them, but
Yeah.
I don't know. Got Rust, played it, hated it, got Sea of Thieves, played it for the first time actually on stream. Terrified because there was a lot of shit happening around me. I didn't know what to do. But yeah, became my number one game really
Yeah.
quick after that, basically. Uh,
Okay.
but it's totally different thing. Yeah.
It is. It definitely. You can save that for a later thing. Okay, so
Yeah.
Valheim would be your number one game when it comes to the Viking fan.
100%.
Okay,
100%.
so I'm just gonna since you do have a bit more knowledge about how it would be portrayed, at least you have a strong opinion about it. Um,
Yeah.
I thought about it as well. Like, how would I portray Viking or a Viking game in general. And I thought about all the different genres you can have, and it
Hmm.
essentially picked one game for each genre that I would see fit for something like that. And
Okay.
the biggest one, and I already told you about that, would be for the MMORPG genre, Guild Wars 2. And here's the deal: there's a race called the Norn. They are very tall, and they have there's a big city in the north. In Guild Wars 2, it's in the Far Shiver Peaks. So,
Hmm.
no, in the Shiver Peaks actually. Far Shiver Peaks, further north. And they, all their buildings, for example, do have a northern touch to it. And you can definitely identify them as the Viking kind of race in this game. What sets them apart, especially lore-wise, is they can get very old because they have a stronger physique and a stronger health. They can get up to 100 years old without even like being incapable of fighting anymore. And they have one big baddie they have to constantly fight against, which is Ice Dragon called Jormak. And they honor their fight against the dragon by having one of his teeth as a monument in the biggest hall they have in their city. So you can actually go there and you can interact with it. It's kind of a lore piece. It says the tooth of Jormak, and you get a little story behind why the tooth is
Hmm.
there. And what makes them so Viking-like is also their beliefs. They do have some sort of religion, if you can actually call it a religion. I would use the term lightly here. They have 5 spirits they follow, so like bear, owl, wolf. What are the other two? Strength of bear, spirit of owl, wolf. You get the idea. So like you
Yeah.
have like shamans according to those spirits, and they their ultimate goal is to forge their own legend, to have something that can be sung about in the halls when they
Yeah.
die. And they don't
Hmm.
really have a name for the place of death where all the honored warriors go. Like you have Valhalla, or I think that's
Hmm.
the thing, the standard Northern mythology term for it.
Hmm.
Other games used other words for it, and they basically want to build their own legend, which then is sung about when they die. And uh, their armor looks, I think, in my opinion, it looks very accurate. There aren't a lot of horned helmets according to the Norn race. Um, there is specific armor for each race that you can buy in 3 different tiers. And most of the time, there aren't any horned helmets. Of course, there is horned helmets shared across, for example, the plate wearers or the heavy armor wearers. But that's like you can't really avoid not having horns on helmets simply because sometimes it isn't supposed to be a Viking helmet in the end. Just uh, I don't know that there's another opposing faction in the game called the Flame Legion, and all of them are basically chars, and char is like a race that has horns all the time, so you get the horn look without even having a helmet in the end. And then they
Yeah.
reinforce it by giving you helmets that make good use of those horns. So in the end, I would say that is a really good representation of the Viking lore and aesthetic with MMORPG. Unfortunately, I can't really say that there is a good gameplay aspect to it because, and that's again what I would feel like a Viking should. It's a combination of being somewhat angry, rage driven, or whatever, which is okay. It is portrayed by the media like that, even though it isn't supposed to be like that. Yeah.
I mean, rage driven. That's in the game, or
Somewhat. There is an aspect to it which is unfortunately not linked to a Viking because it's called a Berserker, but the Berserker in this game is an elite spec of the warrior base class, and the Berserker focuses around being angry, of course, and having those primal abilities, and uses fire. And I don't associate fire with Vikings.
Um, I mean, fire like in magic,
Yeah, actually,
or
like for example,
okay.
he can wield a torch and create a fire aura around himself, or slam the
Uh,
ground and shatter the ground open and leave a fire patch behind.
so
So
the thing is, you're talking about berserkers, which is basically a thing that was in the old Norse ways. They had, I think it was two different kinds of berserkers. One was a bear berserker, which is basically strong guy, all muscle, just swinging a
yeah,
massive axe, whatever it is. And there was the Ulfhednar, which is basically a wolf berserker, like the soldiers of Odin. And one of the kings, I think it was King Harald Finehair, actually had them as bodyguards, and they helped him gain the throne in Norway. That's basically in history. So they were described as, which is pretty close to what you just said. They were described as uh, hungry warriors, mad in a way, because for example, the Ulfhednar were howling before a battle and stuff like that, So they were basically like acting out what you just said, like being angry and it's like, going in there and just killing everything they see and stuff like that. It was a thing back then. The only thing they did not know, if I mean, they didn't prove actually history wise, if it was induced by mushrooms or any kind of how do you say
hallucinations.
yeah, hallucinations, with eating mushrooms, whatever it is, or was it basically like they were brought up from a young age or whatever it was, and they developed that mindset of going in and doing everything. For example, one berserker was recorded in history when in England they were fighting and they had to retreat and they left one berserker on a bridge. And before the English went through him, he actually dropped 40 people. That's the mindset of the berserker. They won't quit. They had arrows in them. They still slashed, and it was it's carnage. So that what you described there is basically a thing, but they actually went in a fantasy way and put magic in it. But essentially pretty correct in what you basically just said there.
My personal gripe with it is the association with fire. I would rather have
Yeah,
it with ice, because
yeah,
obviously
yeah.
North and
Norse,
ice,
yeah,
it would work better with some sort of ice magic if you had to bring ice magic or at least some sort of magic into it. But it's that's the only gripe I have with Guild Wars 2 when it comes to portraying a Viking gameplay wise. You have the Berserker Elite spec, and it does
hmm
feel good to play. It fulfills all the fantasies you have about someone being really angry and feeding off of it. And the only other thing that this is or is missing for me at least is the ice thing, which actually brings me to the next game I thought about, and you do know about it as well, God of War. The
Oh yeah,
the
yeah,
the,
yeah,
the
yeah,
most recent God of War, not Ragnarok because that one isn't out yet, but the current God of War from 2018 actually combines
yeah,
everything that I would think of as a Viking gameplay wise. Obviously, the Northern mythology is completely flipped onto its head there, and the depiction of, for example, the armor and stuff can be quite
yeah,
wrong, I would say, simply
yeah,
because you have an RPG element to it, and you can get, for example, suit armor there, which is for a build. But the general gameplay of Kratos being really angry and feeding off of that Spartan rage he has from previous games, and then combining that
yeah,
with the Leviathan axe and its ice magic, and throwing axes around and just using an axe in general, which is a typical weapon for a Viking. That is spot on for gameplay, I would say.
yeah,
It
yeah.
fits.
I would agree with that. Yeah, yeah.
And yep. and it's
Except the mythology part that you said,
yeah,
that's
I mean,
totally flipped.
uh,
As I remember as well, I played a little bit of it, not all of it. Uh,
if you look up the trailer for the upcoming God of War Ragnarok, you see that um, his son Atreus, that you
yeah,
have
yeah.
accompanying you in the first game, is actually Loki. He is Loki.
Oh, the trickster god.
Yes.
Nice.
They also
I
make
kind of.
a little like Easter egg in the trailer where he comes back hunting and he has a deer on his back carrying it, and the horns of the deer actually make him look like Loki, a helmet from, let's say, from the Avengers, for example. When he first appeared, he had that horned helmet as well, which you do not like,
Yeah.
obviously. But when he came into that cave and he wasn't really visible, some look like silhouette coming into it, he did look like
Yeah.
Loki, and it is actually confirmed that he is Loki. Uh, Other than that, you have all the typical names you would hear from Northern mythology, like Freya and
Yeah.
Odin, obviously, here, Thor, and uh, all many more names that come up, like the World Serpent, for example, the All-Knowing God,
Hmm.
which I forgot his name. He was bound to a tree for a very long time, but you decapitate him, revive his
Oh.
head so he can accompany you and tell you stories and all of that. That was in the gameplay as well.
Oh, I forgot.
You
I actually
probably,
forgot
yeah, you
about.
probably
Yeah, I
know
forgot the
who I
name.
mean, but
Yeah,
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 of
I know,
course.
I know.
You had Balder in there as well, a son of Freya, who was immune to any pain because of the on his body. Um, so gameplay wise, God of War is really really
Yeah,
close when you look into the action adventure genre or action. I would still consider it action adventure. There are light RPG elements in this game. If you would call it an action RPG, most people would immediately think of Diablo or Path of Exile or anything similar, because
yeah,
the genre itself, the name of the genre itself, is associated with Diablo 3 or Diablo in general, which actually leads me to the next game, Diablo 3. Um, Lore wise, you have to look at Diablo 2 and 3 combined for the Barbarian,
yeah,
but
yeah.
gameplay wise, Diablo 3's Barbarian is really close to a Viking. They live in the north. They guarded a mountain, and the mountain had a monument in it, which got destroyed at the end of Diablo 2, Lord of Destruction, the World Stone. And they had to leave from their main city and don't really have a home anymore. They are in Diablo 3, they are some sort of nomads wandering the land and trying to survive. But gameplay wise, you have all the different things you could want. You have Fury as a resource. You have stuff
Hmm.
like you can conjure earthquakes, you can slam down on the ground, create seismic shockwaves. You have an ability called Hammer of the Ancients, where you just slam a huge hammer above your head onto the ground, and you have a super buff called Wrath of the Berserker, where you turn into a huge giant like Berserker, basically, giving you a whole bunch of benefits. You have a war shouts like war cry, battle shout,
Yeah, yeah,
threatening cry. You have another ability called Call of the Ancients. So the Ancients were a boss in Diablo 2 on the top of that mountain they are guarding, and it was some sort of trial you had to go through. You had to kill all of them without going back into town to heal yourself, and then they would just turn back into bone or gold again, and you could pass through. And in Diablo 3, you can summon those three ancients, and every time you interact with the world, you level up, you kill a huge bunch of monsters. You Your character actually says something like "Ancients give me strength" or "The ancients smile down upon me." You have some sort of previous god-like being called Volcathos, who is
yeah.
looked up to by every barbarian. You have the Immortal King, which is a set actually you can wear. A barbarian who went down in history as someone who surpassed everything and basically became like a god, just a mere mortal, but he in the end was looked at as a god.
Ragnar Lothbrok, for example.
Something like that. He had a huge
Yeah.
weapon called it's actually called the Rock Breaker in the game as well. He looks like a king, and his set focuses around having those ancients that Wrath of the Berserker buff all the time. So it kind of fits the whole fantasy of a Viking having plays right, look right, gameplay at least for an action RPG feels damn
Yeah.
near perfect, and the whole thematic behind it with the ancient, the berserker like the using the elements and using sheer brute force to kill you. And you even have the iconic whirlwind ability on barbarians, so you just tornado around like a Beyblade, killing everything. So that also is in there. I'm not sure if you would actually think of a Viking and think, yeah, he's supposed to be a Beyblade. Definitely not. Probably, I guess. But it fits at least the barbarian in Diablo 3. So,
Yeah, I mean, you gotta keep in mind that it's still some sort of fantasy thing is gonna be
obviously.
intertwined with this. You're not gonna be having a game that's perfectly historically accurate and stuff like that. They have to do something so it is appealing and stuff. Uh, Assassin's Creed, for example, is an amazing game. A lot of the lore in there is very correct. It's beautiful and everything, but there's these little pieces that don't fit, like clothing and stuff like that. But yeah, you
I
know,
would actually
games.
say there is one game that would be really, really accurate when it comes to playing a Viking without any fantasy element, actually. That is Ancestors Legacy. And that is probably the only
Oh,
strategy game I know which is rated R. Or at least like Germany we have like ratings for like 6, 12, 16,
yeah.
and 18, so 18 like the adult stuff. That thing is rated R. And I think that
I
is very
actually
accurate.
have that and I played it.
So would you agree it is accurate? Because it is the combat is brutal, and there is no
Yes.
real fantasy element attached to it. So
No, there surely isn't. I mean, the game, yeah, as you said, it's pretty close. Yeah, pretty. I mean, very, very accurate. It's it's also fun to play.
it is. I tried it as
It
well.
is. I like it.
It is a
I
really good
like it.
game. I do like the realism component to it, not in
Yeah.
survival stuff like realism, or like
Yeah.
it is like you would portray it in reality. It is brutal. It is dirty, and a lot of people will die because you died very easily in those times, and
Oh yeah.
nobody could just fix you up, call for a medic or whatever, so it didn't work. Um, so for a strategy game to be this good in the depiction of a Viking is pretty impressive, and they got props for that. They were complimented on how well they actually did it. Unfortunately, it never really took off into the stream.
True.
Somewhat dabbled into its own niche and stayed there. But I mean, you can't really change that. I mean, Vikings are hard to bring into the mainstream. The
True.
series Vikings did it good. God of War did it for games as well, but other than that, it has to be some
Basically,
sort of mixture all the time.
yeah, it always is. I
Uh,
mean, even the series that you mentioned, it's one thing that really stood out for me when I was watching it when they were fighting in the series. That's in the series. It's like, well, I don't know, episode one, two, three, whatever it is. Um, they never. I have never seen a Viking in that show that had a helmet on
hmm.
ever. It's like it's all the braids, which they never had, by the way. I
Okay.
mean, there's no historical evidence that they had anything, anything like that. But yeah, they actually don't have any idea how hair is portrayed back then. What actually they were. But yeah, it's interesting to me. But a lot of the armor is pretty close. The fighting is pretty close. The weapons are close, and everything's just fine. The mythology is okay. At least for the start of the show. When Ragnar was there. After that, it just went haywire. It
So
was
season
horrible. If I'm
4, it
honest.
went down the drain, I guess. So yeah, in season 4
Yeah,
he went
I
away.
mean,
We're trying to keep it spoiler
when
free. He is not there anymore for reasons not spoken of right now. Um,
I mean,
okay, the series
yeah,
has been on for quite a long time, but
there's yeah, it is a long time since it ended actually. But it was interesting to see these little pieces. I mean, I'm really precise about this stuff. I don't know why. I just love the Norse way in general. You know, how they looked, how they were fighting, how they were, whatever it was. There's actually a guy in Norway that, or I think it's Norway, that actually teaches, you know, some sort of martial arts like Viking styled with axes and stuff like that. And so basically, he was the one that was, you know, trying to tell us about how they actually portrayed it. It was it right or was it not or whatever it was. I don't know where he got it, but you know, it could be fake. Who knows?
probably. I mean, there are a lot of
Yeah,
videos exposing fake martial arts masters about all of that stuff, like one's
but
using chi to propel you away or
yeah.
something. Great videos. By the way, fun fact, since I learned that today, and it's completely off topic, but I just want to throw it at you. Uh, the fighting style they used to portray the Winter Soldier in the Avengers movie, the one with a metal arm who fights Captain America in the second movie,
Yeah.
um, is using an actual martial art that is banned in almost every country because it is using almost anything as a weapon. It is a martial art based on using weapons, and I can't pronounce the name, and I won't just because I would butcher it. But it's a martial art coming from Southeast Asia, and they taught him how to use. That's why you see him do those cool interactions with that knife and that very particular scene on the streets. That is an actual martial art he learned for that movie, for those movies in general, and that's how every supposedly every soldier who is like him has been trained as well. You can look that up. It's one of the most
I actually will because I was a student of martial arts, and I actually don't know which one is forbidden. So
it is
there's
it
a
is one
lot
of the
of
most deadliest martial arts out there, and therefore it is an you're not allowed to use it. Most often not, you're not even allowed to teach it or practice it, as far as I know. But it looked pretty cool. But speaking about martial arts, and that's the last game I
yeah.
had in mind, and I actually had to go to my brother because he's playing that game most of the time. For Honor. For Honor
Oh,
has a lot of sometimes
yeah.
very accurate and sometimes not very
Yeah.
accurate depictions of martial arts. There is. I'm taking this as a reference because there is a guy, a Chinese guy. He is German as well, so he does his YouTube videos in German. But he trained at a Shaolin temple in China for multiple years and then came back. And you have a lot of Chinese and Shaolin influenced characters within For Honor, and he rates how well they are implemented and how accurate they are. And most of them are actually pretty accurate, even though
Very, yeah.
very, very hard to pull off. For example, with the hook swords they have, and some fighting styles of the Shaolin monks there with their weapons are very difficult, sometimes not even very well known to even the Shaolin monks. Because there are certain subcategories for Shaolin monks. You start off as a Shaolin monk and then you go into like the warrior monk, which is depicted there as well, and he rated it. But I could say that the depiction of the Viking can be accurate as well. Obviously, there's no one saying yes, it is accurate because there aren't any sources. You can't just simply go to the north and ask
Exactly, yeah.
someone. But I would say all the characters you can play, for example, the Marauder with his great
Hmm.
axe, seems very accurate to me. But I guess you could elaborate on that a bit more.
Um, the big guy with the axe. You mean
Yeah, the big guy with the axe.
Raider?
Oh,
Raider.
Raider. He was called Raider. I thought he was called Marauder.
Raider. No. That's the Raider. Yeah, I don't know if you remember. I actually streamed For Honor
Yeah, you did.
for a
Yeah,
little while. For a little while, yeah. I actually love that game. It's blood and gore, you know. I love
yeah.
it. I haven't played it in a long while, but yeah. The Raider is again horns. I hate that, but
Yeah,
yeah,
the horns.
the horns is just oh my god. That's but yeah, the two handed great axe, whatever it is, it's pretty accurate actually. I mean, of course, you have the different styles of it later on in the game. You buy it and stuff like that. Of course, it's got to have a little bit of a fantasy. But if you play the story of it, the thinking of the Vikings in there is basically it's pretty spot on actually. I think you have also have the Valkyries, which are the women
Yep.
fighters in the game, which is Valkyrie. We all know what a Valkyrie is, right? Then you have the Berserker. I think it's a Berserker.
It's
I think it's
one with
called
the
a
two
Berserker.
axes, right?
The one with the two axes. That's the one I played,
Ah, okay.
by the way. Yeah. Oh, what was it again? I think it was the normal soldier with the shield and the sword. I forgot what the name was for
Right.
that character, but that one is pretty accurate. That one is pretty accurate. The style of the helmet and everything is it basically it fits. Of course, fantasy elements in there, but the helmet is correct. The shield is correct. The weapon is it's great. But yeah, pretty good representation there. But the little pieces of it, of course, not because it's a game. You got to make it appealing, as we talked before. But yeah, the moves and everything else. I don't know where I saw that. I think it was somewhere on YouTube once. Same thing. A martial artist from I don't know where. Supposedly knows the moves that the Vikings were doing back then. I don't know how, but yeah, there's as you said, there's nothing written down, so they have no idea how they fought. uh Basically for them mostly it was like scare tactics at the start, and spreading stories and painting themselves, whatever it was. um that was basically the main thing for them. um but fighting wise, we have no idea how they did it. We actually can just look at the historical evidence of later times, basically how they fought with axes and how they moved and stuff like that. I don't know, maybe in 1300s, whatever it was, because it is written down. And then can maybe have a feeling of how it went back then. By the martial arts improving through the years in a way. So that's how they think it went basically, but they're not for sure. But yeah, the guy was saying that the moves were great, that the moves that they are making with the axes and the swords and everything else are doable. So For Honor did a great job there. I mean, Marshall got a cat in the back.
Yeah, the cat.
God, I just saw something going across the screen. Oh my God.
It's not a ghost, don't worry.
So yeah, great um, uh, they did a great job with the moves. I mean, in all aspects, in the Chinese martial arts, and I think the others as well.
There's
Uh,
one more focus
Japanese,
on Japanese is there as well.
Japanese
You have more of one of the medieval style with like the typical
yeah,
two-handed sword knight, for example.
knights, yeah.
Yeah,
Very
that
doable.
is in there as well. That's the one I played, for
Damn
example,
cat.
as that race or that faction. I
Oh, the one with the sword. What's it called? The Vanguard or whatever it was.
Yeah, that one as well. There was one with a spear or a halberd as well. I do like
The big guy.
yeah,
Yeah.
I do like spears are like my favorite weapon games normally.
Yeah.
So yeah, I tend to go to those characters or those weapon styles as well.
That one was a bastard to kill, for me at least. I don't know. That was always horrible when I saw that guy. I
Not
was
really
just oh
play that
god.
game. It's too rage inducing. I mean, I know my brother played it on a PS4 originally before he bought it on PC recently, and he had multiple controllers just for that game. So yeah, yeah.
I wasn't that bad at the game, as I remember. I
I,
mean, at the start, it was
there's a learning curve
uh,
to it. It's a steep
there's
learning
a
curve to it.
oh yeah, for sure. I mean, at the start, it was just.
Yeah, you're getting killed over and over
I
again.
think you remember. I got my ass handed to me more
Yeah,
than once,
multiple times.
but yeah, multiple times by the same person, by the way. And
Oh fuck.
then I had like then I had then I had like these parts of gameplay that I was just hammering the hell out of them. You know, like I think I have a clip. I still have a clip on the computer from that time that I made when I was streaming. I actually killed 4 people, one after the other, or something like that, and that was like the high point. You know, it's like I gotta clip that crap. That's good.
Clip it.
So yeah, I mean,
Beautiful.
going back to the topic, that it's the martial arts portrayed in there, how they move and stuff like that, especially for the knights and everything else. I saw a lot of reviews are on that, and actually they were pretty correct. As you said, some moves are very hard to do, but they are doable. I mean, with high class martial artists, high class.
All right, that brings us almost to the end. We're actually over an hour now, which is we did not expect that we could just talk and talk and talk, and we could probably talk for even longer. But we gotta end at some point, as this is
Oh
just
yeah,
our first episode, and we definitely have more stuff to talk about coming up, and
more
uh,
topics.
definitely more topics. We will go into more detail for the mentioned games. We will dig a bit deeper and see if we can find even better depictions, maybe, or we can actually try. Maybe we should try because that would be depressing, but we could look into finding a game that did a really horrible job as well, because those games will be out there, and uh, obviously it comes down to personal preference in the end, but objectively, sometimes you can be really wrong as well, and we'll see how that
Oh yeah.
goes, and hopefully we don't find any. At least I don't have anything in mind right now, but we'll see. For the next episode, we will definitely take a deeper look into a game that we mentioned just now. And I hope you enjoyed it. And I hope we'll see each other in the next episode. Until then, have a great time. Bye.
See you guys.